everybody, it's Miss Mercado coming at you today with a Storybook STEAM lesson. Do you know the story of Humpty Dumpty? You know, the old nursery rhyme that goes, I'm sure you can say it with me. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. What do you think happened to poor Humpty Dumpty? He just fell off the wall and broke? And then they tried to put him back together again, but nobody could do it? Well, if you're like me, we've been wondering what happened to Humpty Dumpty. Dan Santat was wondering the same thing. He wrote a book called After the Fall, and this story is all about what happened to Humpty Dumpty after his great fall. You want to know what happened? Let's find out. My name is Humpty Dumpty. This was my favorite spot. High up on the wall. I know it's an odd place for an egg to be, but I loved being close to the birds. Then one day, I fell. I'm sort of famous for that part. Folks called it the Great Fall, which sounds a little grand, but it was just an accident. But it changed my life. Fortunately, all the king's men managed to put me back together again. Well, most of me. There were some parts that couldn't be healed with bandages and glue. After that day, I became afraid of heights. Are you scared of anything? I was so scared that it kept me from enjoying some of my favorite things, like all of his favorite cereal on the top shelf. I walked past that wall every day. And I would think about climbing that ladder again. I really miss the birds and being high above the city, but I could never do it because I knew that accidents can happen. I eventually settled for watching the birds from the ground, but it wasn't the same. It was better than nothing, but then one day, an idea flew by. Making planes was harder than I thought. It was easy to get cuts and scratches, but day after day I kept trying and trying. That's a good attitude. Until I got it right. My plane was perfect, and it flew like nothing could stop it. I hadn't felt that happy in a long time. It wasn't the same as being up in the sky with the birds, but it was close enough. Unfortunately, accidents happen. They always do. Do you see what's happening? I almost walked away again. But then I thought about all the time I'd spent working on my plane and all the other things I'd missed. I decided I was going to climb that wall. But the higher I got, the more nervous I felt. I didn't want to admit it, but I was terrified. I didn't look up. I didn't look down. I just kept climbing one step at a time. Until I was no longer afraid. Maybe now you won't think of me as that egg who was famous for falling. Hopefully, you'll remember me as the egg who got back up. And learned how to fly. Do you see that? Inside the egg was a bird and he flew away. So through this story by Dan Santat called After the Fall, we learned what happened to Humpty Dumpty after the fall, after he fell off the wall. Now, is this a true story? No, of course not. It's fiction. It didn't happen in real life. It's based off an old nursery rhyme. But we can imagine that this is how Humpty Dumpty felt. He wanted us to remember him as an egg that got back up again and learned to fly, not as someone who just gave up and was broken for the rest of his life. So that reminds me of a little lesson. It's called growth mindset. Do you know what that means? When you have a growth mindset? Humpty Dumpty in this story, after the fall, had a growth mindset because he never gave up. Let me show you a little bit about what growth mindset means. So before I just tell you what growth mindset means, I want you to try to see if you can figure it out. So we have fixed mindset versus growth mindset. We need to understand both if we're going to understand what growth mindset means. So I'm going to show you a few things that you might have heard people say before. If you have a fixed mindset, you might hear people say things like, I'm bad at math. This is too hard. This is as good as it gets. But if someone has a growth mindset, you might hear them say things like, I haven't learned this yet, or this is going to take work, or there's always something I can improve. So if you see these columns, it almost looks like they're opposite statements. I'm bad at math is the opposite of, I haven't learned this yet. Or this is too hard is the opposite of, this is going to take work. So what do you think a growth mindset means? If you said something along the lines of, having a growth mindset means you're up to new challenges, you're ready to take on whatever comes your way, then you're absolutely right. Having a growth mindset means you have the mindset that maybe I can't do this yet. A fixed mindset says, I was born not being able to do math. But that's not true. You can learn math if you work hard at it. So having a growth mindset means that you're going to take on that challenge and you're going to get there. Having a growth mindset is what successful people have when they succeed at new hard things. So for example, in the book that we just read, when did Humpty Dumpty have a growth mindset? Well, if we look back in the book, at first he was really afraid of heights. He wouldn't even get his cereal from the top shelf. He was too scared to climb that wall. But an idea flew by him in the form of a paper airplane. Remember? He had a growth mindset about that paper airplane and it gave him an idea. He even said, making planes is harder than I thought. But day after day, he kept trying. He didn't give up. He had a growth mindset about his idea. Then he got it just right. But again, an accident happened. So did he give up then? No, he didn't. He decided to face his fears and climb the wall. He had a growth mindset and overcame his fear. So when you get stuck on a challenge, it could be at school, in life, anything, adults or kids, anybody. You all come across challenges, right? Having a growth mindset means you're not going to give up. You're going to keep trying until you're successful and you overcome your problem. So, I'm going to present you with a challenge today. My challenge for you, and remember, we need to have a growth mindset about this. My challenge for you is to make some sort of protection for Humpty Dumpty. So, what could you make that out of? It could be anything. Legos? Do you think hard Legos would protect an egg though? Gotta think about that one. You can use anything from around your house. Like, for example, I just keep a box full of recycled items. Very good for the environment. Instead of throwing all these things away, I like to use them for projects. So I have some cardboard boxes, empty coffee containers, a lot of recycled materials, even a broken hanger. And out of these materials, I'm gonna make something that would have protected Humpty Dumpty from falling off the wall. And then I can test it. I can put an actual egg in it and drop it and see if it protects the egg. But let's think about some soft items here. Maybe you want something soft for your egg. All right, I'm not gonna say anything else, but you have a challenge. Make something that would protect an egg. Now, would you give up if the first time you tried your egg, it broke? I'd hope not. Have a growth mindset about it. Maybe it's gonna take 2, 3, 4 tries, but I can't wait to see what you come up with.